Thank you very much for coming on and speaking to me today. Obviously, I was particularly interested in your background. You have managed to make data interesting to me, which is no mean feat. So can you just introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about you and what you and your company does?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Reema Vadoliya. I'm the founder of People of Data. As you say, I can make people excited about data, which is a brilliant skill that I have. And also, really good to know immediately is that I love data so much so that I get this cheesy smile on my face. I've worked in data and analytics for the last 7 or so years, working in technical roles, in consultancy roles, in strategy roles, and really trying to revolutionize the way that organizations see their data, use their data, tell stories with their data. But the thing is that I haven't kind of used in this space before is I haven't shared how frustrated I can get as an end user who is asked to share all of my data, especially around protected characteristics, because my frustration is that I'm being asked these questions by organizations where it feels as though they're collecting this information, but it doesn't feel like they're really doing anything good with that data or using it to create some impact and inclusion. So that's why this year I quit my job, the People of Data. It's all about looking at data inclusively and impactfully so that organizations can truly understand what is it that motivates their users, what is it that motivates their employees, and so that we can actually tell stories of real life individuals using data.
You'd said to me previously you love data and that comes across in abundance. Why did you get into data? Where did that sort of desire come from? And what was your kind of educational route into that?
So I arrived into data by accident. I didn't really understand it or what it would be, but my background and my strengths have always been in mathematics. And I did a degree at the University of Leeds in maths. And it kind of frustrates me that I did that now as a data person because it doesn't allow me to reinforce the point in the same way that data people don't have to be mathematicians.
Right.
But I think it's worth me noting that I did this mathematics degree. Every single semester I wanted to quit because I wasn't enjoying it because it just didn't gel with my brain.
Oh,
I couldn't
really?
Yeah, I couldn't really get myself to process some of these really abstract ideas. And while some of the logical things I found fun, actually there was a lot that was just felt like another language to me. And often, I guess, technically it is.
Yeah.
So I applied at the end of my university degree to a data analyst internship. And the thing was that there were some skills on there like problem solving, teamwork, organizational skills. And I thought, well, I don't really understand what data is. I don't really know what data analytics is, but let me give this a go. It's a 3 month internship. If I hate it, I'll leave, I'll do something else. But honestly, like a cheesy rom com, within the first week, I fell in love. And
Did you?
the reason
What did you love about it so much? What was it?
Yeah, the reason I love data so much is really because it kind of takes the abstract and puts it into a context where you're really applying it. Certainly in a business sense, is I was working at a digital marketing company, so it was understanding how are users interacting with a website, what does that mean for the number of things that we sell, how does it feel for a user when they're moving through the website, are there places they're getting stuck. And the reason why I love data so much is because it's a brilliant vehicle to tell stories, and quite a hard one to argue with sometimes as well, because actually it's very clear, plain as day, what someone is using. If the data is collected properly, you can tell really, really great stories.
And in terms of, so you talk about being an advocate for inclusion and inclusive data. That obviously sounds like a lot of exciting words. Anything inclusion, I'm in. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant. What does that mean? Because you just sort of talking even about the example you've given of, a user journey.
Mm.
Are there massive differences in people's user experience based on demographic and gender, and do you see that obviously plain as day? And talking about the inclusive side, how can you do, because I personally, I hate it when people ask me my age category and think, well, why do you need to know if I'm a man or a woman or in my 40s to use Netflix?
Yeah, so the thing that I feel is that these traditional ways of collecting data to understand an individual, and those questions around your gender, your sex, your sexuality, all of the protected characteristics, they're there to help paint a picture about what someone experiences, how they've experienced life, how they move through the world. But the challenge is that we all have incredibly intersectional identities, whether that's based on our, physical, mental abilities, whether that's based on, our sex and gender, whether it's based on who we spend time with in relationships. Actually, all of this stuff is not clear cut. You cannot say this person is a man, therefore they experience the world in this way, because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So the thing that I have when it comes to inclusive data is thinking about how do we ask questions where someone doesn't feel alienated, because if you ask someone about their sexuality and that's something that they are questioning and kind of moving through into a different state, then if you ask them that question, it can be what should be a 10-second question on a form actually can be like a full existential
It's
crisis.
deep. Yeah, it's
It's
deeply
really deep,
personal.
I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting that both of us kind of went to put our
Yeah,
hands on
I
ourselves
mean,
there.
I do. I feel like that. I also, I know that's not the same as sexuality, but I also get a bit funny when people ask me if I've got children,
Mm.
dependents. Not all women think the same. Not all men think the same. Not all women in their 40s. I mean, if you get a group of my mates together, we all differ in our opinion. I mean, there's some threads that are the same. So, how does the data track? Are there common threads across, particular protected characteristics, or is it just so different for everybody? And in either of those scenarios, how do you kind of extrapolate to work out and make it more individual?
How do we use this data, the demographic data that comes from these protected characteristics, to understand individuals? And I think honestly the answer is, when it comes to selling products and services, we shouldn't. And my challenge really is to organizations to say, well, how do we move past these questions? Whether it's because we're trying to understand our users and how they move through the world and how we can sell our product or service to them, is there's that side of it, but also to your employees, a HR team can ask how do you sit in these characteristics, but that can be an incredibly performative exercise. It doesn't actually create a neuro-inclusive environment for your employees to
Yeah.
work. It doesn't actually necessarily work for a tech company to measure their gender diversity, because they haven't actually got gender diversity within the technical teams, which is where we'd actually like to see some gender
This
diversity.
is so true.
So there's so much that can be measured that actually just hides a lot of things. And now, if you think about a curtain on a stage in the theatre, you've got all of these things going on behind the scenes, and you can paint a picture that looks really nice, but actually there's so much kind of like chaos and frantic stuff that's happening behind. But it's just all about how organizations present themselves. So yeah, your question was, how does this demographic data represent individuals? I think the honest answer is that it doesn't.
It doesn't.